What's going on, everybody? Jeremy with Detroit Tech, and today we're doing a battle of the wireless mice. Not just any wireless mice, though. We're pitting the newcomer, the glorious Model O wireless, against the venerable Viper Ultimate from Razer and the G Pro wireless from Logitech. To start, why are we using the G Pro and not the G Pro X Superlight? It's pretty simple. When we got these, the Superlight wasn't out yet. Also, by using the original G Pro, we were able to have more like price points along the spectrum. So there you go. And I'll put links, in the description below if you'd like to purchase any of these mice, help support the channel. Okay, so let's get some of the more boring stuff out of the way. Measurements. G Pro 125 millimeters long, 63.5 millimeters at the widest, 40 millimeters tall, has a hero sensor that was updated via software to max out at 25,000 DPI. It is PowerPlay compatible, so you can use it with a PowerPlay mat and literally never have to actually plug your mouse in, which is pretty cool. Has RGB in the logo, in the palm rest too, and you can change the buttons on the sides so it can be right or left. Yeah, good for lefties. And the main switches are Omrons. The Razer Viper Ultimate is 126.8 millimeters long, 57.6 millimeters wide at the hips, 37.8 millimeters tall. Sensor is Razer's Focus 20K sensor, has RGB in the palm rest and on the dock as well. Does have side buttons on both sides. The switches are Razer's own optical mouse switches. The Model O wireless is 128 millimeters long, 66 millimeters wide at the hips, 37.5 millimeters tall. Sensor is glorious BAMF sensor going up to 19,000 DPI. Unless I'm mistaken, this was developed with PixArt as well. This has lots more RGB around the mouse. It uses Omron switches as well. This one, however, only has side buttons on the left side. So unless you don't want to use those buttons, it is really only for rights. We'll get right into how I like them for gaming and then into nitpicks of, why I do or don't like them. Honestly, as far as performance goes, they're all pretty great. The sensors, while not the 3360 from PixArt, all perform really, really well. The feet on the G Pro leave a little bit to be desired. They are PTFE, but I'm not sure that they're like 100% PTFE. You can feel a little bit of a difference in the glide between the three mice. The switches are also really good. Razer, the switches do feel a little bit different. They have a different sound because, they're different switches. They're not Omrons, but they feel nice. And none of the mice really have any pre-travel or like excessive post-travel, which is really, really great for control. Basically, they all perform as you would expect a mouse in this tier to perform. They're responsive, easy to get on target and control recoil. The sensor movement is nice and smooth. I mean, it's great. Take a listen. Side buttons are a little bit of a mixed bag for me. None of them really have excessive pre or post travel, but it's all about the location and the shape for me. So the Razer buttons, they're super flat. And if it's your first time picking this mouse up, you may not really know where they are. They're that hard to find. They're just very flat. Once you get used to it, it's great. It's fine. I love it. The G Pro side buttons are frustrating for me specifically because of their shape. And this is probably because my hands, like the rest of me, are a little bit chubby. The way they're shaped, they stick out a bit. And because of the location, I accidentally hit it all the time with my thumb. So in Warzone, I'll just accidentally start crouching or pulling out my heartbeat sensor while I'm trying to sprint or something. So that's really frustrating. The Model O side buttons are stiff enough I don't accidentally press them. The problem I have with them is how far forward they're located on the mouse. This is the longest mouse of these three. And even though my hand is wide enough for a large mouse, it's short. I have a hard time palming a volleyball. That's my hand size. So I really have to reach to hit the front button comfortably here, which is really annoying. General fit for me though, goes actually to the G Pro. Maybe it's because I've just used Logitech mice almost exclusively until we started reviewing, I think it was the Xtrfy M4 last year. I'll put that video up here, but it just fits into my hand really, really well. It's probably because like the height, I really like a mouse to kind of just fit in my palm and fill it. And that's probably just laziness. I don't actually have to like hold anything. The Razer is next for me because it's not quite as long as the Model O. While the Model O is only 0.3 millimeters shorter, it's a couple millimeters longer, and that, at least to me, makes it feel a lot flatter. Viper Ultimate also has the highest point for the back, so it does fill my palm a little bit better as well. When you get to mice this light, a gram or two honestly doesn't really matter, at least for a plebe like me. G Pro is listed at 80 grams, Viper Ultimate at 74, and the Model O is listed at 69 grams. Nice. If you're picking them up one right after another, you can feel the difference, but it's really not like that big of a deal, especially if the G Pro fits your hand, you know, way better than the Model O. Battery life is kind of interesting. While they're all rated at roughly the same, like 70 to 80 hours, in the few months I've been testing them, I found the G Pro to last the longest by far. I would, you know, be using the Viper Ultimate for a day or two, and the G Pro Model O would just kind of be sitting there, occasionally lighting up because, you know, raging at hackers in Warzone. And when I needed like to charge the Viper, the Model O would be dead, but the G Pro would be like at least 50% battery. So somehow it just lasts a lot longer. And of course, you do have to consider your charging situation as well. The Viper Ultimate package we got has the dock, which I absolutely love. Has rubber feet on the bottom so it doesn't like slide around, and it fits in magnetically, so generally pretty easy to get in there. The dongle sits like in the dock. If you really want, you can unplug the cable and plug it in here while charging so you can play at the same time. Both the G Pro and the Model O have a dongle adapter you can put on the end of a cable and then, you know, plug it in when you need to charge. It's more clunky, but, you know, I mean, it definitely works. The Model O dongle is nice because it has a rubber bottom on, so it will, you know, for the most part, I guess, stay put on the desk. Then there's software. Each mouse has its own software. Logitech and Razer's are essentially mature and, you know, full-featured software. Glorious is about as full-featured as you can get, but it's new. Glorious is working on it more and more, and their new GMMK Pro keyboard coming out this year, it's gonna get even better. Honestly, no software is perfect, and I use everybody's software as little as possible. I do a quick like DPI setup and I go from there. I just kind of don't want it screwing everything else up. And here is where I have a couple of gripes. Why are Razer and Logitech still using micro USB? I mean, Logitech has like the wings on the cable, and the Viper cable goes in pretty far so the connector doesn't get damaged and like broken. But come on, like just refresh these with a USB-C. Like, come on. The Model O does it a little bit better. It has USB-C, but they make the support system like so it gets bigger so it can still only fit in one way. Like, guys, you were so close. So close. The cables are also a mixed bag. The Viper Ultimate cable, you know, it's classic Razer cable. Braided, a little bit heavy and thick, but doesn't really get caught. Doesn't kink badly at all. Model O uses Glorious's Ascended cable, which is one of, if not the best cable I've used on any mice so far. It's light, doesn't stick. If you need to plug it in while charging it, you know, and playing, this is really the cable to use. I don't know what Logitech was doing. Honestly, this cable sucks. It's not braided, it's rubber, it's bad. Luckily, I have some older Logitech cables, like with my 502 that aren't total crap to use if I need to. So I guess there's that. Big thing we haven't discussed yet is price. If you want the dock with the Viper Ultimate, it's $150, while the G Pro is $130. If you go with the super light, that's $150. The Model O is, I guess you could say, the proverbial shot across the bow at $80. It's an insanely good deal for what you're getting. But for me, ultimately, if I had to choose one, the Razer Viper, that's gonna be my new daily driver for a couple of reasons. One, it fits better in my hand than the Model O. And once I get used to where the side buttons were, it's easy to use, you know, easy to use, easy to play with. I never accidentally hit the side buttons. I'm trying to go down to only 2 mice on my desk instead of like 4. You know, this one and then one for MMOs. I need at least a couple extra buttons for editing videos. I know I could just add the buttons on the right side of the G Pro, but I still can't really use it for FPS. And I know $150, it's a steep price. If your hands are large enough, I would probably just suggest getting the Model O. It's a phenomenal mouse, but for me, it just doesn't fit me correctly. So I'm just gonna stick with the Viper Ultimate. Maybe the G Pro will turn into my new work mouse. I can't just, like, it's gotta be used. I can't just have it sitting around. Thanks for watching, everybody. If this video is helpful, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. If you want a full in-depth look at any of these mice, let us know in the comments below and we'll catch you in the next one.